Hi, this is Anne with SVG Cut File, and today I'm going to show you how to make rolled paper flowers in Cricut Design Space. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so first you'll need a template. I have a few paper flower SVG files on Etsy, and the template I'm going to use today is for the rose design that I have in my shop. This one, every petal is different because that's the way flowers are in real life. And it also comes with leaves that you can use with it, but anyway, you can take a look at it if you want. That link is in my description below. Whatever template you use, you're going to want it to be in this same style, kind of a spiral shape. Okay, so I'm going to walk through the process of downloading it. You'll have already purchased it and all that. You can just come up to You, which is right up here, and then go to Purchases and Reviews. Then you can just come over here. Obviously, I don't have it in my cart because I've never bought my own file before. But you can come over here to Download Files, and then scroll down and you can see these little download buttons. If you're using Chrome, it'll go over here to the bottom left, and then you can just choose this caret and do Show in Finder, and it'll show that image wherever it's located on your computer. Okay, I've started up Cricut Design Space, and now I'm just going to resize this window. We'll start a new project. And then I'll come over here to upload. We'll come up here to upload image, and then we'll browse. And you'll need to navigate to your downloads folder. If you're on a Mac, you can just hit Option Command L, but if you're on a PC, it's over here somewhere, probably in your favorites section. Here's the rolled rose. We'll want to use the SVG version. That just means that the last three letters are SVG, not the PNG or the DXF, because this is Cricut Design Space, so we'll want SVG. We'll say Open. Okay, and now we'll just come over here to save. You can also rename the image if you want to, but I usually don't do that. And then I'm going to click on it and Insert Images. All right, now we've got two versions here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit right down here. And I've got two versions. I've got one with a score line, and this is really meant for those of you who have a scoring tool. Okay, but I'm going to go with the basic one, which is this one right here. So I'm going to ungroup this. I'm going to click the one I want, which is this one over here. I'll hit Command X or Control X on a PC, then Command A or Control A on a PC and delete. And then we'll just paste it back in. Command V or Control V on a PC. Now this is showing as 8.3 by 8.6, and that is about the size that we want it. My paper is 8.5 inches wide, and so I'll want to max it out at as big as I can make it. And I'll put it right here. My 8.5 by 11 goes right here. So I'll try to get it to fit in there. Now I'll just come up here to the green Make It button. And our material size is not 12 by 12, that's our mat size, but our material size is 8.5 by 11. It doesn't give us that option. So that means that it's a little bit too big to fit. So we'll cancel. I'll click on it and I'll bring it in just a little bit. I'm going to make it 8.2. That should be maybe even a little bit smaller. 8.2, okay, 8.197. And now I'll make it. I'll come over here to material size, and now I have it available. So 8.5 by 11. And then we'll come down here to continue. Make sure your machine is on, and then it should connect to it. My base material is set to cardstock, and you can see the big dial is set to cardstock right here. I'll go ahead and open up the Cricut, and then we'll go ahead and load the mat. Okay, now I'm going to put my cardstock right up here in the upper left corner at 0, 0. You can see where the ruler says 0, 0. Press it down on the mat so that it's able to stick while the Cricut cuts it. Okay, so now we're going to load our mat. I'll kind of push it in underneath these two parts, and then I'm going to hit the flashing arrow button. You might have to actually help it along a little bit by pushing on the edge so that it's able to catch it. And then the next step is to push the little Cricut button. Okay, now Cricut is going to go through the process of cutting out this rolled paper flower. And when it's done, you can just hit the flashing arrows button to unload your mat. Okay, so now we've got our mat with our template on it. I'm just going to use this tool, which came with my Cricut, to kind of lift this off the mat. And this really depends on how sticky your mat is, but just make sure to get under it. Then you can easily pull it off just like this. And now you should be left with just the rose by itself. I'm going to use the same tool to get underneath the very edge of the rose and then just follow the center as I go so I don't accidentally rip one of the outer petals off. So as you can see, it can be kind of easy to get under the wrong part and it might rip. Okay, there we go. And oops, I almost ripped it right there. But no problem. And that's it. Now we have our template by itself. Okay, and now we're ready to actually start rolling this up. Now, this is going to be the base here, so we want to roll from this side and we want to roll inward. I use a paintbrush for this, but you could also use a pencil. You could use like a folding bone. I've heard that works really well. So I'm just going to roll it like this. And I'm not actually rolling, I'm just kind of limbering it up right now. I want each of my petals to kind of fold around the paintbrush. And I'll just kind of speed this up so you don't have to watch the full thing. But you get the idea. And it's okay to bend them. I try not to. I try to, actually bend a crease in there. I try not to just because it always wants to conform to that crease. So I like a rounded bend instead of any kind of creases. It can be hard to do that. It definitely takes practice. All right, we're just getting this all loosened up so it'll fold better here in a minute. Try not to rip it. I almost just ripped that little piece right there. Okay. You can see I've got some pretty strong little bends in here, and that's not really a great thing, but it doesn't really matter too much either. All right, so now we've got our whole thing ready to go, and we can just start folding. I like to keep this area in the middle pretty tightly folded, and we will just go on and fold it around like this. You can kind of see what the middle looks like. I try to keep the bottom straight as possible, this part. And this part in here, I generally leave these flowers as is, but then when we get on the outside like this, I start folding the flowers out like this. And they'll become a little more noticeable as we go. You have to be a little careful because it does want to rip the paper a little bit when you do that. So you have to be careful of that. I like to do it a little bit now, but then later I'll go back and do it a lot more. Because I roll so tightly, it's really hard to get those flowers to kind of spray out right now. So don't worry too much if you're having that problem too. But as you can see, it's coming together nicely as a little rolled flower. Okay, and we're getting pretty close now. So our base is on the very bottom. You can see there's a lot of extra space. I usually don't roll them quite this tightly. In fact, I'll let it loosen up a little bit right now, and then I'll just start folding these out a little bit so they look more like a rose. All right, get these in here. You can also do this with your folding bones. Sometimes that works a lot better. It's just kind of hard to do that while I'm recording. Now, a lot of times I'll completely undo this if I'm not liking the way it looks, and I'll do it a second time so that you can kind of get a more uniform roll to it. So right now it's getting really loose as I fold these out, but you can kind of see the beginning of something really great. Beautiful little rose. All right, so I'm going to undo this, And just kind of start over, not completely from the beginning, but I'll roll it in like this, and then I'll just re-roll. This will get me a little closer to the look I want. Make sure that one is rolled out. Okay, sorry, it's kind of hard to keep my hands in the same place while I'm doing this for the tutorial. All right, this is looking really good. Let's fold this around here. Start putting these out again a little bit. And let it unroll. Okay, so now we can come back here on the back and just use our glue gun. You can either use a glue gun to secure it here, or I like to use this 3-in-1 glue. Now to finish this off, all you would really need to do is add some glue to this and here with your glue gun, and then just press it on there like that. And you'll be good to go. Alright, if you like this video, just hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, thank you.